Most backyard chicken keepers spend hundreds, sometimes thousands on chicken feed every year. But there's a group of homesteaders who haven't bought chicken feed in years because they grow it themselves. They're using perennial vegetables and plants that regenerate endlessly, need almost no maintenance, and provide more nutrition than organic chicken feed for free. In this video, I'm sharing 5 productive plants for sustainable farming that replace expensive feed, grow back after every harvest, and thrive in most U.S. climates. If you're building a more self-sufficient living lifestyle, this channel is for you. I share practical homesteading tips like this every week, and subscribing means real solutions for raising chickens keep finding you. I'm really glad you found your way here. Let's uncover chicken feed alternatives the feed industry doesn't want backyard farmers to know. Plant number 1. Moringa for chickens, the miracle tree. This one matters because it solves a quiet problem most people keeping chickens face. Expensive feed that lacks real natural chicken nutrition, while building long-term food security for your family and flock. When you're spending $50 to $70 a month on commercial feed, it adds up fast. And even worse, you're never quite sure what's actually in that bag. Moringa changes everything because it puts you back in control of what your chickens eat and how much you spend on sustainable agriculture. The reason this works is simple. Moringa leaves contain 27% protein, which is higher than most commercial feeds on the market. They're also packed with vitamins A, C, and calcium, the exact nutrients laying hens need for strong eggshells, healthy eggs, and healthy immune systems. Chickens instinctively love it. They'll rush to eat fresh moringa leaves before anything else in their feed bowl. And here's what makes it truly sustainable. It doesn't depend on perfect conditions or constant attention. It grows fast, tolerates drought better than almost any other tree, and regenerates after pruning. This is why it's been feeding livestock and regenerative farming operations across tropical and subtropical regions for centuries. It's not a trend. It's proven agriculture. To start with this DIY chicken feed approach, all you need is a moringa seedling or cutting in a sunny spot in your yard. If you live in USDA zones 9 through 11, you can grow it year-round outdoors. For zones 7 and 8, it grows as a seasonal crop, dying back in winter, but returning from roots in spring. In colder zones, you can grow it in large containers and bring them indoors during freezing months. If you already have sun and space, you're ready to begin. What you're doing is simply planting it once, then harvesting leaves every 2 to 3 weeks throughout the growing season. There's no replanting required, no complicated fertilizing schedules, no overthinking. Moringa grows aggressively once established. A single tree can reach 10 feet in its first year and produce several pounds of leaves per harvest. You just strip the leaflets from branches and feed them fresh to your chickens or dry them for storage. The trees keep producing as long as you keep harvesting. To keep it productive, prune it regularly. That's what triggers new growth and keeps the tree bushy rather than tall and spindly. Cut branches back to about 3 to 4 feet high every few months, and the tree responds by sending out multiple new shoots packed with tender, protein-rich leaves. That's enough. You don't need fancy techniques or expensive inputs. Regular pruning is the entire maintenance routine. Over time, this doesn't just cut your feed costs. It changes how your homestead feels. There's something deeply satisfying about walking outside, harvesting fresh leaves, and knowing your flock is getting premium nutrition you grew yourself. Less dependence on feed stores, less worry about price increases or supply shortages. More independence, more control, a sustainable system your family can rely on for years. A small thing that makes this easier: drying excess leaves into powder during peak growing season. Moringa leaves dry quickly in the sun or a dehydrator, and once ground into powder, they store for months without losing nutritional value. When winter comes and fresh greens are scarce, you'll have a stockpile of homegrown protein ready to mix into feed. You don't need to do this, but it smooths the seasonal gaps and maximizes what your trees produce. Plant number 2, comfrey chickens, the forever protein source. This plant matters because it provides rare, deep nutrition most backyard chicken setups can't access without ongoing investment or fragile systems that fail when life gets busy. Comfrey is one of those quiet powerhouses that doesn't demand attention, but keeps giving year after year. Once you plant it, you're done making decisions. It just works. The reason this works is rooted in something most people never see. Comfrey's roots reach 10 feet deep into the soil, pulling up minerals and trace elements other plants can't touch. Phosphorus, potassium, calcium, iron. They all get concentrated in those massive leaves. The leaves themselves are 20 to 25% protein, which rivals expensive protein supplements, and they're packed with calcium, the single most important nutrient for strong eggshells and healthy laying hens. Chickens instinctively recognize comfrey as valuable food. They'll eat it fresh, wilted, or chopped. And here's the remarkable part. Once planted, a comfrey patch returns for decades without replanting. Some patches have been documented producing for over 20 years from the original planting. It's not a crop. It's a living investment in your homestead's future. To start, all you need is root cuttings or a potted comfrey plant. Root cuttings are cheap and easy to find from gardening suppliers or homesteading groups. Plant them in a dedicated spot where you don't mind them staying permanently. Comfrey doesn't transplant well once established, so choose wisely. A spot along your property line, near the coop, or in a garden corner works perfectly. If you have space and cuttings, you're ready. What you're doing is simply cutting leaves every 4 to 5 weeks during the growing season and feeding them to your flock. No complicated processing, no need to dry or ferment them, though you can if you want. Most people raising chickens just harvest, wilt the leaves slightly to reduce moisture, and toss them to their birds. The chickens do the rest. A single established plant can produce 4 to 5 cuttings per season, with each cutting yielding several pounds of nutrient-dense leaves. 4 or 5 plants can feed a small flock almost entirely during peak season. To keep it thriving, water occasionally during extended dry spells, especially in the first year while roots establish. After that, comfrey is nearly drought-proof because of those deep roots. It finds water other plants can't reach. That's enough maintenance. You don't need to fertilize it, protect it from pests, or worry about diseases. Comfrey is one of the toughest, most resilient plants you can grow. Over time, this becomes one of your most productive, low-effort systems for urban homesteading or any chicken-keeping setup. It produces high-quality, protein-rich feed year after year with almost no attention from you. There's something powerful about having a permanent food source for your flock that doesn't depend on stores, shipments, or price fluctuations. It's food security that keeps renewing itself. Less friction in your daily routine. More confidence that your chickens are getting real nutrition. A little more calm knowing this system won't fail you. A small thing that makes this easier. Planting comfrey near your coop or along garden edges where you walk frequently. Comfrey spreads slowly from root fragments, so containment keeps it manageable while maximizing access. Some homesteaders plant it in a designated bed or use barriers to control spread. Others let it naturalize in areas where spreading isn't a problem. Either way, strategic placement means you can harvest quickly without dedicating time to walking across your property. If this is helping you see what's possible for saving money on feed, give it a like. It tells YouTube to share this with other families building self-sufficient lives. And I'm genuinely curious which plant feels most realistic for your setup right now. Is it the fast-growing moringa, the permanent comfrey, or are you waiting to hear about the water-based option? Drop it in the comments. I actually read them and reply. Your feedback helps me create content that matters to real people doing this work. Plant number 3, azolla chicken feed, the water wonder. This one matters because it grows faster than any land plant you can cultivate, doubling its mass every 3 to 5 days, making it the most productive free chicken feed you can grow in the smallest space. If you have limited room, poor soil, or you're in an urban setting where traditional gardening is difficult, azolla solves problems other plants can't. Azolla is a floating water fern with 25 to 35% protein and essential amino acids chickens need for muscle development, egg production, and overall health. It's not just protein. Azolla contains vitamins A and B12, iron, calcium, and other micronutrients that boost immune function and egg quality. Chickens love it fresh. They eat it eagerly, and digestibility is excellent because it's soft and moisture-rich. This is how families in Asia, particularly Vietnam, India, and the Philippines, have fed poultry sustainably for generations. It's traditional aquaculture adapted for backyard homesteads, and it works in almost any climate during warm months. To start growing chicken feed this way, all you need is a shallow container, water, and azolla starter culture. The container can be anything: a kiddie pool, a large plastic storage bin, even a half barrel. Fill it with 4 to 6 inches of water. Float your azolla starter on top and place it in partial sun. Azolla prefers some shade during the hottest part of the day, especially in southern states, but it needs light to grow. If you have those 3 things, container, water, and starter, you're ready. Starter cultures are available online from aquatic plant suppliers or homesteading groups. They're inexpensive and ship easily. What you're doing is simply scooping out half the azolla every few days and feeding it to your chickens. The remaining half regenerates immediately, doubling back to full coverage within days. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Scoop, feed, regrow, repeat. No planting, no weeding, no soil, just water and light. A single small pool can produce several pounds of fresh feed per week once established. For a small flock of 6 to 10 chickens, 2 or 3 containers provide a significant portion of their protein needs during the growing season. To keep it growing, refill water as it evaporates and add diluted organic fertilizer monthly. Azolla needs nitrogen to thrive, so a little liquid fish fertilizer or diluted urine works perfectly. The goal is to keep the water slightly nutrient-rich without overfeeding, which can cause algae blooms. That's enough maintenance. Check water levels weekly, top off as needed, and add fertilizer once a month. It's one of the simplest systems you'll ever maintain for chicken keeping tips. This system produces endless nitrogen-rich feed in tiny spaces, making it perfect for small backyards, urban homesteading, or anyone seeking maximum productivity from minimum area. There's something remarkable about growing pounds of protein in a space smaller than a bathtub. It challenges everything we assume about food production and land requirements. Less space, more output, a truly efficient system. Over time, azolla changes how you think about feeding chickens. It's not about buying bags or managing large homestead garden plots. It's about creating renewable systems that work with nature's speed and efficiency. You gain confidence that even in a small space, you can produce real food for your flock. The friction of trips to the feed store disappears. The worry about rising prices fades. You have a productive, sustainable solution that keeps giving. A small thing that makes this easier: keeping multiple containers as backup. Azolla can crash in extreme heat above 95 degrees, or if water quality drops suddenly. Having 2 or 3 separate containers means if one crashes, you have backup cultures to restart. Redundancy ensures continuous supply and removes the anxiety of total loss. You don't need it, but it smooths the process and protects your investment of time and effort. Plant number 4, perennial kale, tree collards. This matters because it's a cold-hardy, long-lived green that keeps producing when annuals die, giving your flock nutrition year-round without replanting, reseeding, or seasonal restarts. Most greens are annual crops. They grow, produce, then die, and you start over. Tree collards break that cycle completely. They're a true perennial vegetable that can feed your chickens for years from a single planting. Tree collards grow 6 to 10 feet tall and produce large, nutritious leaves continuously for 5 to 10 years, sometimes longer with good care. They're packed with vitamins A, C, and K, plus calcium, iron, and antioxidants. Everything laying hens need for strong eggshells, healthy immune systems, and consistent egg production. The leaves are tender enough that chickens eat them readily, but tough enough to withstand light frosts and keep producing through fall and winter in milder climates. In zones 7 through 10, they stay productive almost year-round. In colder zones, they go dormant in winter, but return vigorously in spring. This is perennial food security in plant form. To start, all you need is cuttings from an existing plant or starter plants from a nursery. Tree collards don't produce viable seeds, so propagation is done through cuttings. This actually makes them easier to start because cuttings root reliably in soil or water within 2 to 3 weeks. If you know someone growing them, ask for cuttings. If not, small plants are available online from specialty nurseries and homesteading suppliers. Plant them in well-drained soil with full to partial sun. If you have space and cuttings, you're ready. What you're doing is simply harvesting outer leaves weekly and tossing them to your chickens. The plant keeps growing from the center, producing new leaves continuously. It's a cut-and-come-again system that never stops. You can harvest year-round in mild climates or seasonally in colder areas. A single mature plant can provide several pounds of greens per month once established. 4 to 6 plants can supply consistent greens for a small flock throughout the growing season, reducing your dependence on purchased feed significantly. To keep it productive, prune woody stems annually and mulch around the base to retain moisture and suppress weeds. Tree collards can become leggy if not pruned, so cutting back old growth encourages fresh, tender leaf production and keeps plants bushy and manageable. Mulching reduces watering needs and protects roots during temperature swings. That's enough maintenance. You don't need to fertilize heavily, spray for pests, or worry about diseases. Tree collards are remarkably resilient and low maintenance once established. This creates perennial food security, a living system that keeps giving without seasonal replanting or stored seeds. There's something deeply reassuring about walking outside in November or March and still harvesting fresh greens when most gardens are dormant. It changes how you think about food production. Instead of annual cycles of planting and replanting, you build permanent systems that compound over time. Less work, more reliability, a steady source of nutrition regardless of season. Over time, this doesn't just reduce feed costs, it changes how your days feel. There's less pressure to keep gardens going or make emergency feed runs. You have a backup system that works when other sources fail. More confidence that your flock is getting fresh greens even in off-seasons. A little more calm knowing you've built something lasting. A small thing that makes this easier: propagating cuttings in late fall. Tree collard cuttings root easily during cooler months and establish quickly by spring. This gives you backup plants if one fails, extras to expand your system, or gifts for neighbors building similar homesteads. Propagation is so easy that most growers have more plants than they need within a year or two. Strategic multiplication means you're always ahead, never scrambling to replace failed plants. Plant number 5, amaranth, the complete package. This one matters because it gives you both nutritious greens and high-protein seeds from a single plant, making it a complete feed solution that covers multiple nutritional needs without separate crops or complicated systems. Most plants give you one thing. Amaranth gives you 2 and does it with almost no input from you. Amaranth leaves are tender, fast-growing greens chickens love fresh. The seeds contain 13 to 14% protein with all essential amino acids, making them comparable to quality grains, but grown in your backyard without equipment or processing. The seeds are tiny, almost like poppy seeds, but packed with nutrition. Iron, calcium, magnesium, and B vitamins are all concentrated in those small grains. And here's what makes amaranth truly special. It self-seeds aggressively. Plant it once, and it returns every year without replanting. Seeds drop naturally, germinate in spring, and the cycle continues indefinitely. It's a truly self-sustaining system that works with nature's design rather than fighting it. To start, all you need is amaranth seeds and bare soil. Any amaranth variety works, though some are bred specifically for grain production and others for leaf production. Grain amaranth varieties, like Golden Giant or Hopi Red, produce the most seeds. Leaf varieties, like Red Garnet, grow bushier with more tender greens. For chicken feed, grain varieties give you the best overall return because you get both leaves and seeds. Broadcast seeds over prepared soil in spring after last frost. Lightly rake them in and water until germination. If you have seeds and soil, you're ready. What you're doing is simply harvesting young leaves for fresh feed throughout summer, then letting some plants flower and set seed for fall and winter feed. It's a 2-stage harvest system. Early in the season, thin overcrowded seedlings and feed those tender young plants to your chickens. As plants mature, continue harvesting outer leaves for fresh greens. Then, in late summer, allow selected plants to flower and produce seed heads. Those seed heads can be harvested, dried, and fed whole to chickens, or you can let seeds drop naturally to ensure next year's crop. Either way, you're getting continuous nutrition from spring through fall. To keep it going, thin overcrowded seedlings in spring, and let nature handle the rest. Amaranth is nearly indestructible once established. It tolerates heat, drought, and poor soil better than most crops. It grows fast, outcompeting weeds naturally. The only real maintenance is preventing excessive spreading if you want to contain it to certain areas. That's enough. You don't need to fertilize, water constantly, or protect it from pests. Amaranth thrives with neglect. This creates a perpetual cycle that feels almost effortless once established. Leaves feed your flock now. Seeds feed them later. Drop seeds ensure next year's crop without your intervention. It's a system that runs itself, asking almost nothing from you while giving season after season. There's something powerful about planting something once and watching it become a permanent part of your homestead's ecosystem. Less replanting, less purchasing seeds, more reliability, a truly sustainable system. Over time, this changes how you think about feeding chickens. You're not managing crops. You're partnering with plants that want to reproduce and spread. Your job is simply to harvest and occasionally thin. The plants do everything else. It's elegant, efficient, and requires almost no ongoing effort. You gain confidence that even if you forget to plant something one year, amaranth will still be there producing food for your flock without your input. A small thing that makes this easier: harvesting seed heads before full maturity to prevent excessive spreading. Amaranth drops thousands of seeds per plant, and if left unchecked, it can colonize entire garden beds. Controlled self-seeding is productive and desirable. Wild, unmanaged spreading creates work. Cut seed heads when they're 90% mature. Dry them fully and either feed them to chickens or let some seeds drop strategically in areas where you want next year's crop. That balance between abundance and control makes the system work long-term without becoming overwhelming. Priority bonus tip. Here's something most people miss, and it matters more than adding another plant to your setup. Instead of growing these separately as standalone systems, combine them strategically across your property using permaculture principles. That layered approach creates year-round feed diversity without extra effort because each plant fills a different nutritional gap and seasonal window. Plant comfrey along property borders or garden edges where it can stay permanent and spread slowly without interfering with annual crops. Moringa goes in sunny spots with good drainage, either in-ground in warm climates or containers in colder zones. Amaranth thrives in open areas where self-seeding is welcomed, like field edges or dedicated grain patches. Azolla lives in containers near water sources or in shaded areas where you can monitor it easily. Tree collards fit perfectly near the coop, where daily access makes harvesting convenient during morning chores. This spatial strategy means you're never walking long distances to harvest, and you're maximizing what each microclimate on your property does best. Comfrey feeds deep roots in borders. Moringa captures intense sun. Amaranth fills open ground. Azolla uses water and shade. Tree collards provide year-round access near daily routines. Together, they create a complete system that produces fresh, diverse feed spring, summer, fall, and even winter in milder climates. You're not adding more work. You're designing efficiency into your layout, so feeding chickens becomes a natural part of moving through your property each day rather than a separate task requiring planning and effort. You don't need to replace all your feed overnight or transform your entire property in one season. You just need one steady system that keeps growing and producing. Pick one plant from today and start it this week. Even if it's just a single moringa cutting, a handful of amaranth seeds, or one comfrey root division, start small and imperfect. That's how real self-sufficiency begins. Not with perfect plans, but with simple action. As that first plant establishes and starts producing, you'll gain confidence to add another then another. Before long, you'll have multiple systems working together, each requiring minimal maintenance, while producing consistent feed your flock depends on. And if you want more sustainable, life-changing ideas like this, subscribe to Livestock Profit Farm. This channel is for people building intentional, productive lives without pressure, noise, or burnout. We share practical systems that work in real life, even when motivation is low and time is limited. Thanks for spending this time here. I'll see you in the next one.